So let's look ahead to this season and some guys who could maybe do what Max Domi did and have that really nice, productive leap that we saw a year ago. Let's start with the youngster and a guy who certainly finished in the Calder finalists voting, Rasmus Dahlin, #1 overall pick by Buffalo 2 years ago. Look at the numbers here, Lots.
Everything blew me away, Jameson. I got to be honest with you. Now, we did sit here after the draft and say, I believe that he'll get 40 to 45 points. He has that kind of talent. He ended with 44. But the fact of the matter is you never really know for an 18-year-old defenseman. We heard talk of Bobby Orr over the season as he bested a record from his rookie season. When it's all said and done, Rasmus Dahlin just developed nicely. Hit a little bit of lull in that February-March period, but picked it back up again to finish strong. He's a guy that I would expect still has another gear in him. So huge jump up in his first year. Shows he's a player. Now in his second year, I expect the same kind of production, but the next level. Could he hit 50 assists is a question I have for him this season.
And at points last year, we started to see that guy that we saw on YouTube playing overseas when he was just a youngster. He's still a youngster, but just that creativity that he just he can do whatever he wants with the puck out there, kind of on a yo-yo at times. And you saw him get that confidence about halfway through that season. Yeah,
when you break down his game and you go back over the highlights, you can't believe the little things he does. And a lot of them don't even result in goals. But he is such a special player. He sees the ice so well. He reads his coverage as good as anybody. He's got a little bit of Sergei Zubov in him in terms of he knows exactly to the millimeter how far away you are from him, and he will hold on to that puck. He's got ice in his veins.
All right, another guy, another youngster on the blue line that we expect who could have a huge season down in Tampa, Mikhail Sergachev. You look at the numbers from last year, 75 games, 32 points, time on ice, just shy of 18 minutes. What do you think the ceiling is for this youngster?
Well, he took a little step back, quite frankly. At other times in his career, he'd crested that 32-point mark and hit the 40s. But the fact of the matter is the path to success is wide open for him now. Strawman is gone. It's going to be more reliance on him. Yes, Kevin Shattenkirk joined the fray, but I don't think it's going to affect Sergachev at all. I think he's a guy that's due to absolutely have a blast-out year. I'm looking for north of 50 points. I'm looking for a guy that plays from start to finish in the top 4. And yes, he would look perfect playing in the first pair with Victor Hedman, or he could play with McDonough. Either way, it's going to be an enormous season for him. Why am I so confident in that? The Lightning need it from him. They really do. But that path is wide open. And a lot of times, a player like Sergachev that has the skills, but has other guys in front of him, they have to wait. They have to develop. They get sheltered a bit. That won't be the case this year for him.
All right, breakout guys from last year. We had a pair of Leafs on that board, Mitch Marner, Morgan Riley. We have a Leaf on this board who could have a breakout season coming up. Travis Dermott, you look at his numbers from a year ago, one of those role players on the Leafs. They were so deep up front. But what do you make of Dermott, what we saw, what you think he could become?
Yeah, still hasn't played a full season in terms of 80 games. Last year was only his second attempt at it. He played 34 the first year, but he showed flashes of brilliance to me last year. He also, like Sergachev, was behind guys like Hainsey, like Jake Gardiner. Well, guess what? They're gone. Jake Gardiner, we don't know where. And, of course, Hainsey's in Ottawa now. So that's going to open up a path for him. The Leafs are going to need it. They've got a great transition team. He's a great transition defender. He's going to pick up a lot of points just moving the puck up to his wings or the tremendous centers that they have. I see him next year, once he's healthy, potentially getting a lot more minutes than he did last year. I'm not saying he's going to crack that top 4, but I see them using 5 guys almost equally with the exception of Morgan Riley.
All right, and you mentioned that injury out until at least it sounds like November with that shoulder injury. So get him healthy, rested up, and then back on the blue line for the Toronto Maple Leafs for the upcoming season. This next youngster, Jesperi Kotkaniemi. I mean, kind of broke onto the scene, didn't break out, but he broke onto the scene as a rookie playing center in that role for Montreal. A lot of people thought he might get sent back down to juniors. That wasn't the case. He's stuck. Played 79 games his rookie year. What do you expect for his sophomore season?
You know what? I really felt like they sheltered him last year, and they did an excellent job with his development. Those are really impressive stats when you consider the amount of power play time he actually did see. the amount of time that he was sheltered. Wasn't maybe with the top offensive players all the time. I think that's all going to change this year. He was a surprise pick by a lot at the draft, going 3rd overall. That shocked a lot of people. Obviously, the Montreal Canadiens saw something, and in my opinion, he delivered. He was worthy of that pick, and last year is the evidence of that. This year, I could easily see him playing much more of an offensive role. Danault, to me, could be the guy that actually ends up in that 3rd line, typical 200-foot player role. Kotkaniemi could pass him up, and he has the potential to not hit 72 points like Domi.
Would he go number 1 center, or does Domi slide up to number 1 center?
I think Domi will be the number 1, but he'll be the number 2, and they're going to lean on him a lot more heavily. He's not going to get nearly the sheltering that he did last season, and I think he's ready for the challenge.
When you define breakout season for a youngster like Kotkaniemi, is it just based on time on ice, point total? What are you looking at?
Combination of all of them. In terms of the point total, I expect if he does move into that 2nd line role, he'll crest 50 points next year. He's not going to get 70, but he'll crest 50. But I expect the minutes to shoot up by at least 4 minutes a game. That's a big change for a young player.
Yeah, average under 14 minutes a game last season. But if he moves up the depth chart, of course, those time on ice minutes will move up as well. And our last guy from the Atlantic Division, Henrik Borgstrom. You see his numbers, 50 games, great quaff there on the right side. Other than the fantastic hair, which you have as well, Lots, what do you like about Borgstrom and his game on the ice?
This is a guy that joined the Florida Panthers with one constant note for him, and that is he's very light. He's a slight guy. Well, he's a year bigger, older, stronger, and if he can translate what he was able to do at Denver to the Florida Panthers, and the sky's the limit for this guy, because he's got big-time offensive skills. I thought the Panthers did a nice job in just developing him last year, not giving him too much, not forcing him into situations. I think that's going to change this year. I think he's a guy that literally could end up playing wing on one of those top 2 lines at times, as you see Connolly on the right side. Brett is a good player, but traditionally he's been kind of a bottom 6 forward. Borgstrom is a guy, in my opinion, that can easily roll up to one of those top 2 lines, certainly on a number 2 power play. I think that's going to give him confidence. He's going to settle into the type of player we saw when he played in the NCAA, and that was a dominant offensive force.
Absolutely. A lot of expectations for Borgstrom, a lot of expectations for that team in general, Florida. Yep. You look at their depth there and the additions they made this summer with their big goaltending acquisition. What are your expectations for Florida, including Borgstrom in that lineup?
This is a team that if they can nail down the defensive structure side of the team, very much the way the New York Islanders did, they could be that surprise team to everybody. Now, people are already on to them because of the big signing with Bobrovsky, obviously, because of bringing in Joel Quenneville, multiple Stanley Cup winner. There's a lot of positives going on in Florida right now. It's not going to surprise me necessarily that they have a great season, but I do think it'll surprise fans around the National Hockey League how big of a jump they're able to make.
All right, should be fun to watch.